You are not imagining it. If someone in your life repeatedly leaves you confused, guilty, defensive, or unsure of your own memory, that feeling matters. Maybe every disagreement becomes your fault. Maybe they deny words you clearly heard. Maybe they provoke you, watch you react, and then use your reaction as proof that you are too emotional. After enough time, you start asking the most dangerous question: am I the problem? That question is where control begins. People with strong narcissistic patterns do not need to win every argument. They only need to keep you off balance. If you are constantly explaining, apologizing, defending, and begging to be understood, you have less energy left to notice what the relationship is doing to you. But here is what they rarely expect. You do not take your power back by shouting louder, finding the perfect comeback, or seeking revenge. You need 5 quiet moves that remove their emotional fuel, slow down confusion, protect your reality, reconnect you to your own life, and finally end your need for their approval. Stay until the end, because the final tactic is the least dramatic one. Before we begin, this is not about casually diagnosing difficult people. A diagnosis belongs to qualified professionals. This is about repeated patterns: emotional baiting, gaslighting, isolation, blame shifting, and control. So ask yourself, do you trust yourself less around this person? Do you leave conversations more confused than when they started? If someone immediately came to mind, keep watching. The first quiet tactic is to become emotionally uninteresting. Imagine a gray rock beside a road. It does not argue. It does not explain. It does not react. It simply exists. That is the basic idea behind the gray rock approach. People who manipulate through emotional control study reactions. They notice what makes you angry, what makes your voice shake, and what makes you defend yourself. Your reactions become a map. Once they know the map, they know which buttons to press. So when they make a loaded comment, stop giving them a performance. They say, "You always make everything difficult." Instead of defending your entire character, say, "I hear you." They try again. "You are being too sensitive." You answer, "That is your opinion." Short, calm, neutral. You are not pretending the comment did not hurt. You are deciding not to hand them immediate access to that hurt. Grey rock is not punishment or a contest in coldness. It is a protective boundary for situations where every emotional response gets used against you. If the person becomes threatening or unsafe, get support and protect your safety. In ordinary manipulative conversations, neutrality removes the reward. At first, they may push harder. They may become more insulting, more dramatic, or suddenly accuse you of not caring. Do not assume that means the tactic failed. Sometimes people intensify a behavior when the old version stops working. Your goal is not to win the moment. Your goal is to stop feeding the pattern. Be honest, is there someone in your life who becomes more powerful every time you become more emotional? They may not be stronger than you. They may simply be more practiced at reading your reactions. The second quiet tactic is to slow the conversation down. Manipulation often depends on speed. One accusation is thrown at you, then another, then a completely different complaint. Before you answer the first point, you are defending yourself against 5 more. 20 minutes later, you are apologizing for something that was never the original issue. Have you ever walked away exhausted, unable to explain what the argument was even about? So instead of chasing every accusation, ask for clarity. Can you help me understand exactly what you mean? What are you saying happened? When did that happen? Can you give me one specific example? Keep your voice curious, not sarcastic. The goal is not to trap them. The goal is to make the conversation move slowly enough for reality to stay visible. A distorted story can sound powerful when delivered quickly. But when each claim has to be explained clearly, contradictions become easier to see. Maybe they say, "You never support me." You ask, "What is one recent moment when you needed support and I refused?" Now the conversation has to deal with something concrete. If they have a real example, you can respond honestly. If they avoid the question, change the subject, attack your personality, or create a new accusation, that tells you something too. Either way, slowing the conversation gives your thinking time to return. Confusion is not always accidental. Sometimes confusion is the strategy. Clarity is how you step out of it. The third tactic is aimed at protecting your own reality. One of the most painful parts of a controlling relationship is being told that something you clearly remember never happened. "I never said that." You imagined it. You always twist everything. After hearing that often enough, you may doubt your memory, your judgment, and even your emotional reactions. That is why a private record can become a powerful shield. After an important conversation, write down what happened. Record the date, the words you remember, what was agreed to, and how it ended. Keep it factual. You are not building a courtroom case. You are creating an anchor. When the fog returns, you have something steady to look at. Every time you write the truth down, you remind yourself, my experience was real. I did hear that. My reaction did not come from nowhere. Over time, this rebuilds something manipulation slowly weakens. Trust in your own perception. You do not have to show the record to the other person. In many cases, doing that only creates another argument. Its purpose is internal. To see patterns, compare promises with behavior, and remember what happened before the story gets rewritten. Does this remind you of someone who changes the story so often that you start questioning yourself? If this video is helping you recognize a pattern you could never explain before, tap the like button. It helps this message reach someone else who may still be doubting their own reality. If you are documenting behavior because you feel unsafe, threatened, financially controlled, or afraid of what may happen next, do not handle it alone. Reach out to someone trustworthy, a qualified professional, or an appropriate local support service. A record protects clarity. Support protects people. Now we reach the fourth tactic, where the structure of control begins to weaken. Build a life they do not own. Controlling people rarely isolate you all at once. They do it through small comments. Your friend is jealous of us. Your family never understood you. Why do you need to go out when you could stay here? Each comment sounds minor. Together, they slowly shrink your world. And a smaller world is easier to control. If one person becomes your main source of approval, companionship, information, and emotional security, losing that person feels like losing everything. That is why rebuilding your own life is part of healing. Text a friend you stopped answering. Return to the hobby that made you feel alive. Take a class. Exercise. Join a community. Create one part of your week that belongs only to you. You do not need to announce the transformation. Quietly expand. Every healthy connection gives you perspective. Every independent routine strengthens your identity. Every goal outside the relationship reminds you that your life is larger than it. Think of control like a cage. You can spend years fighting the bars, or you can grow until the cage no longer defines the size of your world. That is what independence does. It may not make the other person change, but it changes how much power their behavior has over you. Now, answer this honestly. What part of yourself became smaller after this person entered your life? Your friendships? Your confidence? Your hobbies? Your ambitions? That answer may show you where rebuilding needs to begin. Now for the quietest tactic. Stop trying to make them understand. This is the one that keeps many people trapped the longest. You replay the conversation, rewrite the message, and search for gentler words, clearer words, stronger proof. You tell yourself, if I explain it perfectly, they will finally understand how much this hurt me. But what if the problem is not your explanation? What if understanding you would require them to accept responsibility, and responsibility is exactly what they are avoiding? That possibility hurts because it forces you to release a hope. The hope that the right sentence will create the apology you have been waiting for. The hope that one final conversation will transform the relationship. Sometimes people truly misunderstand. Healthy people listen, ask questions, reflect, and make adjustments. But when someone repeatedly twists your words, dismisses your pain, changes the story, and demands another explanation, the pattern itself becomes the answer. At that point, continuing to explain may only prove that their approval still controls your peace. So stop standing in front of a locked door, begging it to become an entrance. Turn around. Walk toward people who do not require you to argue for your own reality. This does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop making your healing dependent on their understanding. That is the moment the deepest chain breaks. Not when they admit everything. Not when they apologize perfectly. Not when they finally agree that you were right. The chain breaks when you no longer need any of those things to trust yourself. Have you ever spent months trying to explain your pain to someone who seemed committed to misunderstanding you? If the answer is yes, you were not necessarily failing to communicate. You may have been asking the wrong person for closure. None of this happens overnight. Control is often built through hundreds of small moments, and freedom is rebuilt the same way. One neutral answer, one clear question, one honest journal entry, one reconnection, one decision not to explain again. Small choices create emotional distance. Emotional distance creates clarity. Clarity creates freedom. So, remember the 5 quiet tactics. Become less emotionally available to manipulation. Slow confusing stories down with clear questions. Keep a private record that protects your reality. Build a life too full to be controlled by one person. And stop waiting for someone committed to misunderstanding you to finally understand. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these 5 tactics do you need most right now? Did someone specific come to mind while you were listening? Leave a comment below. Your experience may help someone else realize they are not alone. And if you want more practical psychology, stronger boundaries, and clear strategies for protecting your peace, subscribe to Mr. No Excuses. Every week, we break down the hidden patterns shaping relationships and self-respect. Remember this: a person with narcissistic patterns does not lose control when you defeat them in an argument. They lose control when your reality, your identity, and your peace no longer require their permission.